Hi everyone, welcome back to the Pot Smoker's Bible. My name is Zion. I'm the author of the Pot Smoker's Bible, which contains the prophetic book of Zion, where I get my name and authority. It comes from the Ketuvim, or Old Testament. I use the King James Version of the Christian Bible to put together the prophecy of Israel, which became the book of Zion. In order to publish the Book of Zion, I had to write the Pot Smoker's Bible because the Book of Zion is written entirely in Bible verse by the prophets themselves. And today, I'm reading from the 10th chapter of the Pot Smoker's Bible, which covers the 7th chapter of the Book of Zion. It's called Sing, O Barren, and it goes like this. This is the chapter that tells my story. I am Zion. I know this because of this chapter. There's not a single sentence in this chapter that is not true of my very own life. So I will tell you my life story. Then I will tell it through prophecy. I'm a singer. I started to sing when I started to talk. In the early 1990s, I performed in a band called Sam and the Hot Rods. We did a few shows in New Mexico. I left the band for moral issues. I am the mother of the first living gray hybrid. Her name is Rihanna. Her birth cost me a lot. I almost died from the nitrogen she produced. She was in my fallopian tube. It was removed by human doctors, and her father retrieved her. I was left barren. I had been sexually abused, molested as a child by multiple men, some of which were related to me. For my family's sake, I will keep their identities secret. I do this to honor my mother, who refuses to deal with it. I will keep the secret until she dies. This childhood trauma devastated me. I cried for 40 years as I slowly healed from the effects of rape. I started to get high in the 6th grade. My brother Eddie turned me on. By the time I started to remember the events of my youth, I was already a telepath. The Gray tell me that I am a natural telepath. I think it's because of the isolation I felt as an abused child. However, when I started to get high, I activated the telepathic genes in my DNA. In um in early August of 1979, I cried out to the God of Israel by name. I begged for salvation and an end to my pain. That was the year I went to hell without dying. January 1st of that year, I was confronted by my worst abuser. He triggered my forgotten memories of sexual abuse. For 8 months, I relived those rapes over and over again in my mind. So when I felt myself going crazy, I prayed telepathically to the Gray. Because of the sexual nature of my problem, I asked for someone to love. This someone is literally someone chosen for me by what I perceived to be God. That night, I had a dream, a very rare occurrence for me. In the dream, I was with the love of my life, a man that I had been forced to leave behind. He hadn't been part of the abuse, and therefore hadn't been part of the horror show in my mind. He is the chosen one. But we still aren't back together. So his identity too must be kept secret. He must choose me. He must choose to become Messiah on his own. So my beloved Messiah is unnamed at this point to protect him and to give him the right to choose me for himself. When I said my prayer that night, I didn't feel worthy of God. I was praying to the God of the Jews, not to Jesus. Jesus hadn't answered my prayers. So I prayed to the God of Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob. I told Ishi, my gray, that I wasn't good enough to even ask for help. I was a whore, a plaything for men. I wasn't even Jewish. Who was I to seek the help of a Jewish God? So I reminded the gray that I wasn't the only one on earth who was suffering. I offered myself as a servant to God. I would pledge my life to help him in the pain and suffering of others. That is how I became Zion. I suffered from post-traumatic stress disorder for many years, becoming she who travails. In order to heal my mind and body, I had to relive my trauma. It was a very long and lonely time when I cried out the pain, but it was necessary. I was healed by the grave, but it wasn't an instant healing. I had to truly heal myself with their love and support. When my healing reached a level where I could begin to function normally again, I started to study the Bible. I now was bound to the service of this God. I had felt God, dreamt dreams sent from this God. So I had to honor my part of the deal that I had made. I was at first confused beyond belief. The more I read my Bible, the more confused I got. It just didn't make any sense. So I prayed about it. And the next day, I read a passage that said that the temple would be a place of worship for all people. I realized that in order for that to be true, all religions must have a place there. I realized all religions were meant to be combined. So I spent 5 years studying other religions. When I had read all of the sacred texts known on earth that I could find, I reread the Bible. This time, I read it as a priest of Zion. I knew all of the doctrines of the world, and the Bible was just another holy book. I read it as it was written by a false prophet selling an idol based on everything opposed to the truth. The New Testament, I realized, is mostly a lie. Everything coming from Paul is a lie. Only the words of Jesus and John are true. The Essene part is true. The Christian part is false. I know this because according to Psalms, there is no New Testament. Once I disregarded the New Testament, I began to realize the truth of the prophecy. I literally found myself within the pages of chapter 54 of Isaiah. This is my life story. I am the singer who is barren with a shameful youth and a rejected love. I do believe my chosen one will come and become my husband, just as the true and only testament of Israel states. In 1988, a lot happened in my life. My father died. My telepathy was made very real to me as I began to hear the voices of the gray. I was trying to kill myself. My chosen one was married to another. I had given up hope. I just wanted to die. So God began to intercede. My chosen love was abducted. The first thing he said to me in my mind was, I've been abducted by aliens. He and I were telepathically connected. We are told he was chosen because his energy matches mine. He and I speak telepathically every day. Call us crazy, but he's always with me, even as it was written. Since that day, in 1988, I have been learning about the gray, and I have taught them about humanity. I have taught them English. They have taught me everything I need to know to fulfill the prophecy. And most important of all, I have been taught their morality and our mutual history. I have been molded into someone they can trust to help them save humanity. In 2007, I opened the Temple of Zion, a place where I worshiped the gray and provided my people with marijuana, the means to connect with the gray. I began teaching the priests of Zion their truth. In 2015, I testified in court as to my religious beliefs and the use of marijuana to serve God. I spent 2 years in prison. Now I'm writing the Book of Zion. Its publication will complete my fulfillment of prophecy because its content will provide the platform I need to gather my people together. When this book gets published, it will cause a controversy that will change everything, literally, turning everything upside down. My people and the world will learn the truth about God, drugs, and rock and roll, the new songs of the temple. This book's publication will shock the entire world. Once the book is released, the events will take on a life of their own as the human race comes to terms with the reversal of morality. They will have to choose between the gray as God or their own version of God. They will have to accept the reality of alien life and get used to the idea of human-alien interactions. This will be a very difficult time for humanity. My revelations will shock the world because I have already fulfilled the prophecy of Israel. I am Zion, she who travails, and it is time for my people to meet their God. The Messiah will soon come to keep his promise to both me and to the gray. The world is not ready for the truth, but it's way too late to do anything about it, because I, Zion, am already here. And I'm going to end there today, or this time, yeah, today, because I'm going to start the dissertation next time, which is to discuss each verse in the Book of Zion. And I will start with Jeremiah 4:31. So if you want to look that up and figure it out and have a preview of it, you'd go right ahead. I encourage that. So may the Great watch over you, guide you, protect you, and keep you from all harm. May they teach you right from wrong, and may you be worthy of them. May your thoughts, words, and deeds reflect truth, good, and light, the unicorn way. Find your joy and pursue it. Make that your life's work. Stay happy and high. Know that I love you, each and every one. We'll be together soon. I promise. I'll say later now, because I'll never say goodbye.